1045 The Team, your home for New York Jets football. It is the big week. Christmas is Thursday in my world as the NFL draft is rapidly approaching. So we're reaching out to our friend Matt Richner over at predictionmachine.com. He's an NFL draft expert. Matt, you're going to help us break down the draft using numbers, using analytics. What does that mean? How do you use combine stats? How do you do this?
We use a little bit of combine stats. It kind of depends on the position. For quarterbacks, there's absolutely no combine test out there that can really gauge whether a quarterback's going to be good or bad. So we use everything that we use comes from the player's game tape in terms of their overall production, number of tackles missed, the yards after catch for a wide receiver, broken tackles, yards after contact for a running back. So all those kind of advanced stats and some of their production stats and efficiency metrics. For us, it's not always about what you've done, but it's also about who you did it against. So if you dominated the likes of like a Southern Alabama State, well, that's great, but that's still a Division II school. If you went and played Alabama or an LSU or Rutgers University and you actually had really good games against them, your scoring is going to be a little higher. So it's a weighted value based upon not only what you did, but who you did it against.
So, Matt, you're saying you haven't been outside in approximately a year.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've kind of stepped outside. I like to take a break, at nightfall because the sun is a little down. My skin's a little too pale right now. So yeah, a lot of game tape, a lot of time spending watching back and forth different games and different players. But it's fun. It's what I enjoy to do.
So Matt, what is your accuracy rate? Have you tracked that?
Yeah, so for quarterbacks to get a first, let's say a top tier guy or a quality backup, we're running. If you use our metrics, we're about a 77% success rate.
Wow.
The NFL average at either of those is about 20%.
That's amazing.
So we feel pretty strongly with using our numbers for quarterbacks, and it kind of differs on the quality success rate that we hit at on each position. But that's kind of our kind of bread and butter one that we like to kind of say.
All right, Matt Richner joins us from predictionmachine.com. Okay, so saying that you can predict more accurately whether these quarterbacks are going to be top-tier guys, these two trades we've seen where, I give up the farm to get to 1 and 2, Wentz and Goff, are these good trades?
No, they're not good trades. They're actually horrible trades for both for the Rams and for the Eagles to move on up. Goff is nothing more than a third-round pick. He's the guy that's going to have to take about 3 to 4 years before he has any sustained success in the NFL. 23 career fumbles. He's sacked once every 19 drop-back pass attempts. So here's a guy that just makes a lot of mistakes. Over 60% of his passes are within 5 yards or less of the line of scrimmage. That's not saying to say that he can't throw those kind of deep or intermediate passes. It just says that the fact is that he was playing an offense that was kind of just short area throws. Wentz is a guy that probably has a higher upside and a guy that I would take, but I wouldn't take him at least till the late second or early third round myself. You look at the Eagles and with the Rams, they have so many holes, along their offensive lines, along their defensive secondary. These teams gave up valuable assets to be able to go and grab these players. But the fact of the matter is these guys are going to be thrust into the starting role on a team that aren't even capable of making the playoffs for the next couple of years.
Matt, I have to tell you that Levack has been dancing as you've been talking. Because
that's real right there. I like that.
Apparently, you are confirming some of his opinions.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers to back it up, but they just don't pass my eyeball test.
Yeah, it just seems ridiculous that if you look at the Eagles, here they have no defensive secondary to really speak of. They have no offensive line, no running back. They need another wide receiver, and yet they're going to go out and they spend a bunch of money on Bradford and Chase Daniels, and then now they're going to draft Wentz. And it just doesn't seem the fact that there's no long-term thought process to this because they gave up 6 draft picks to be able to move up to taking one guy. It just the math doesn't work out. So for me, I'm not sure what the Eagles are planning on doing, though I would suggest, if you had the gamble, I would bet that Howie Roseman's going to be fired in the next 2 years just because he about burned down that entire franchise.
Who should the Giants take in the 10th as their 10th pick? What's your take on that? I
like the Giants to take Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle from Michigan State. Here's a guy that was an accomplished 3-year starter there. He played in a very pro-style offense. The Giants need to kind of upgrade their offensive line. I know they took Eric Flowers last year, but Conklin is a more suitable left tackle and a guy that can really kind of be that road grader. he did a really good job of locking down defensive ends, specifically the defensive end DeForest Buckner from Oregon. So when he was matched up against one of the premier defensive end prospects in this year's draft class, Conklin pretty much shut him out. So you kind of like to see that, and I think he can be a day one starter for the Giants.
Joined by Matt Richner from PredictionMachine.com. Now, the Giants fans in this area, Matt, very excited about the possibility of drafting Ezekiel Elliott. Is there any chance he's there and they have that choice to make?
He could fall. If he falls past Dallas, then he'll definitely get to the Giants at 10. The issue you have when you take a running back is you can always find running backs later in the draft. And I know a lot of people say that, and it's probably because it is true. There's really few value picks for a running back in that first round. You can usually go with more teams now are going to go in the running back type committee, and I would suggest for the Giants to probably do that. They have more immediate needs at the offensive line because your running back is more of a byproduct of what your offensive line can and can't do. If you have a really good offensive line, subsequently you're going to have a good running back in terms of overall production. So if the Giants really want to take a running back, just to pick one up in that second or third round, and you can still find value there.
You know, Matt, I have to ask, I know we're talking football, but was Moneyball like your favorite movie of all time?
I did. I love the book. And there's one quote in the book that I just love, and I'm not quite sure if it's in the movie or not. I've obviously seen the movie, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. But where Billy Beane says, when the scouts are talking about different players, and he goes, "We're not in the business of selling genes. We're in the business of finding baseball players." And you see that with the combine. Everybody talks about their height, weight, speed, and how good these guys look. But some of these guys aren't playing quality football. And so sometimes you need to be able to pick a guy who might be an inch short or 5 pounds a little light, but he's a dominant football player. So, yes, and to answer your question, yes, I absolutely love Moneyball. I think it's one of the best books written in the last, 20 years.
I love Matt Richner, man. You are just dropping knowledge bombs all over the place at 104.5 The Team. So let me see what I can do here. Bills are going to pick 19th. They lost about 21 sacks from the year before. I'm saying defensive tackle.
The Bills are definitely a team that need a lot of help pretty much at every position group. I look to the Bills to take the one player that we really like is Kentrell Brothers, the inside linebacker from Missouri. He's not really being talked about as a first-round pick, and he won't be. But the fact of the matter is he's the best inside linebacker in this year's draft class. The guy is just an absolutely tackling machine. He led the SEC in tackles over the last 2 years. He's the guy that can pretty much get everybody set. The Bills need some defensive tackles and some help along the defensive front in the front seven. We think Kentrell Brothers is that mainstay that you can kind of put in there. Again, the guy's a little short, maybe about 5 pounds a little lighter than everybody likes. But the fact of the matter is he was in the SEC and he was absolutely dominant. So for us, he's somebody that you can plug and play, starter day one. You pretty much close the book, and he'll be there for the next 10 years.
Now, all right, so we did the other two. We are your home for New York Jets football. The 20th pick, the New York Jets select.
The Jets, the Jets have a pretty interesting draft this year because they don't have as many holes as they normally do, which is a pretty good thing. One guy that we talked about that both Paul and I at Prediction Machine really like is Jatavis Brown. He's an outside linebacker from Akron. Here's a guy that wasn't invited to the combine, but he was at the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. He was at Akron. He broke all the career sacks list, the tackles for loss list, number of tackles per game. He broke those records held by Taylor, the former defensive end for the Miami Dolphins, Jason Taylor. So here's a guy that he's about 6'1", about 230, but he was pretty much dominant over the last 2 years. And so we're a little surprised with the fact that he isn't getting a lot of talk. Now, I'm working for a couple teams this year. I've been able to float his names out, and everybody kind of comes back to say, please don't talk about him. We really like him. We like him as a third-round pick. So Jatavis Brown, we like him in the first round. If the Jets can get him in the second, that's going to be a steal for them.
Okay, bold predictions for the first round of the draft, Matt.
Bold prediction. I'd like to see, it would be nice if no quarterback was taken in the first round, but that probably won't happen. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a couple inside linebackers, Scooby Wright from Arizona, go in the first round, and 5 defensive tackles will be taken in the first round, I predict.
Matt Richner, he is from PredictionMachine.com. He is their NFL draft expert. Also, I look at the whole Moneyball situation in Oakland. I know you love the book, you love the movie. When you see what the Cleveland Browns are doing, where they're bringing in the analytics guys, do you think that's the tool that finally turns Cleveland around?
I do, and I was happy to see that they kind of fired about 6 or 7 of their scouts, and I know some of the media members were a little up in arms about that, but it's not like these scouts were doing a very good job. Cleveland has been terrible for the last more than a decade, so, why keep going at it with the same approach? You might as well try to change it, what they obviously are doing, and trading down in this year's draft. They have so many holes available that on their roster. They need quality starters, so for them to trade down and be able to get more picks, that just increases their chances to be able to improve their overall roster and the value of each position that they're going to take at. I like the move just because you can't constantly just keep trying the same formula over and over, and you are obviously seen all the results. So for me, I like the fact that Cleveland is changing it up. Do I think other teams should do it? I think more teams should adopt it, but if you don't adopt it the right way, you're just going to screw up your franchise. So at least they hired the right people who know what they're doing, hopefully.
Matt, who uses your information a lot?
From anywhere between fantasy football draft, fantasy football people. A lot of NFL teams will use us. So I've done work for a little over 8 teams now. Paul's done a couple of jobs for a little over a handful at Prediction Machine. So teams will use our analytics because we do player projections. We'll give you an idea of just how many tackles the guy's going to have, how many receptions that each player, wide receiver, will have, and then we can kind of rank them. So different people, and of course anybody who's an NFL draft nut, we have a full 7-round mock draft. We have player profiles for every player. I think we have over 500 different player projections and profiles and draft rankings. So for every position group we have, it's pretty much a full cachet of NFL draft news and information if anybody wants to check it out. And it's all free.
Matt Richner, PredictionMachine.com, NFL draft expert. Any chance we can get you after the draft and grade how our New York teams did?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come on.
Perfect, man. We love your stuff.
Great, man.
I like that I now have a smart argument to go with my eyeball test.
Yeah, anytime. I'll agree with you pretty much on any NFL draft. How about that?
As long as we're right. Just don't agree with me if I'm wrong.
Oh, no, you have to point out if he was wrong.
And how wrong.
How wrong.
You know what? With the NFL draft, some people always say, "Well, it takes 3 years," and it's like, are you just hoping other people just forget that you like Jake Locker or Blaine Gabbert or any of these other terrible quarterbacks? Because that's some of my feelings sometimes.
I couldn't agree more. I love it, man. PredictionMachine.com. Matt Richner, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Matt.
Oh, thank you guys too. Have a great day.